to 95%. They're feminists and clergy, because the feminist will tolerate somehow or another and make nice with Islam or accept its treatment of women, which is brutal and wrong. And yet, have we ever seen any marches by feminists? I was noted with amusement that liberals are signing a petition to put urinals in the women's bathroom. So they can get caught up in things that have to do with feminism or femininity like that.
Total mindless distractions. Or they're mad that they'll henpeck a woman who wants to stay home with her kids so they get brought up better. But then they're fine if Saudi Arabia has women in pens.
You know, Alex, you keep trying to ask me these questions as though I'm going to be able to make sense out of them all. But I cannot explain why women who are otherwise good people will sit there and go to an interfaith gathering and hear women talk about how wonderful that Islam was the first to give women their rights, that Islam protects women. Islam, so listen to all these things that Islam is supposed to be good for women, and just sit there and, like baby birds, when the mother bird feeds them, they drop the worm down the mouth.
Meanwhile, ISIS is selling 6-year-olds into sex slavery and gets Saudi Arabian approval. I'm going to throw up.
You know, you're reaching the point where I'm going to teach you a phrase which the professionals in my business use. You cannot make this crap up. I'm serious. I mean, I deal with professionals around the world, and occasionally we all just shake our heads and go, we can't make this up. How would you do this? Islam is, when you enter the world of Islam, you enter a world in which everything has two meanings and everything is upside down. And everything you think you know, it's the opposite of that. It's like Islam is permanent opposite day.
It's like, I'm going to go kill all these gay people, but they have sex with men. And it's just, but it's okay because we did it this way, but these guys got to die because they did it that way. And we're liberal, by the way, so shut up. The guy's a Democratic Party voter, so he goes and kills a bunch of Democrats.
You know, and by the way, did you ever think about this? My bet is that most of the people who were killed in the Orlando shooting were Obama voters. But you know, we're laughing here. And yet the truth of the matter is Islam is the enemy of the liberal, the conservative, the progressive, the left.
I think it's the enemy of itself. My God, who wants to live under the way those countries are? I feel sorry for the Muslims trying to flee to get away from it. I guess they'd be called heretics from Islam. Dr. Bill Warner, have a great week coming up. Thank you for joining us. Boy, spot on with his warnings. And look, I'm hitting all the Islam stuff real hard right now because the clash of civilizations is coming down, folks. It's getting bad. All right, I'm about to hand the baton to David Knight, who is in the studio right next door to me. Again, I'm Alex Jones, your host. If you've tuned into this broadcast the first time, we're not liberal, we're not conservative. I'm just an American who wants to live in a free country and a free world. I believe in innovation. I believe in private property. I believe in classical liberal ideas of live and let live, like Thomas Jefferson. The modern liberal wants to control your speech with political correctness and wants to accept any outside culture, even if it's tyrannical, like Orthodox Islam, and wants to persecute you if you don't submit to it. New liberalism is a hate of the West, basically the hate of their daddy. Anything that looks like their daddy, they hate. It's a blow it up and start all over and let a bunch of lazy, snot-nosed social justice warriors with 4 worthless degrees apiece and $500,000 in debt run our lives. It's a bunch of lazy, miserable, stupid, pseudo-intellectuals that get together and basically take over society and civilization. But the reason I'm talking right now is this. I'm doing my first Reddit Ask Me Anything tonight. And that is at 6 to 8 o'clock. InfoWars Nightly News will be on right in the middle of it, so you can tune into that as well. But Infowars.com/AMA is the page that you can go to, and you'll find that commercial-free 2-hour transmission that we're doing. And we're going to air some excerpts of it in the next week on the daytime show that airs 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So, coming up, 6 o'clock tonight, we will kick that off. The feeds will be at Infowars.com/show, but also Infowars.com/AMA. Now, we're about to hand the baton to David Knight here. So much has happened. There's David Knight right there. He's in the other studio. If you're a Facebook Mentions viewer, or if you're watching us on cable stations like in Houston, or watching us over the internet, or listening to us on the radio, we are multimedia. truly independent, teleprompter-free, independent, red-blooded Americans, very race, color, and creed, who want to be free and want to be able to live and let live. And I've been on a jag lately because of these jihad attacks on the fact that we are letting more and more radical Muslims in, letting them attack and covering up when they attack, and that a worldwide jihad has been officially announced and kicked off, a major offensive by ISIS and Saudi Arabia, because the West started pulling away from Saudi Arabia in the last 3 years, led by the U.S. Army, saying we're not backing al-Qaeda and ISIS 4 years ago. You heard all that here. You learned all that here. Long before Cy Hirsch came on 6 months ago and said, we were right, this is true, incredible. I don't like being the person breaking news like that. It's dangerous. I did it because I have a responsibility. There is a war with criminal elements in our government like Hillary Clinton, allied with Saudi Arabia, and there's other special interests too. But Saudi Arabia is activating terror networks worldwide and trying to hold us hostage. And the left in Europe said, yeah, we'll work with you, Saudi Arabia, and brought in 5 million people, a lot of them sleeper cells, to try to then declare civil emergencies against nationalists when the jihadists attack. So that's the big secret of what's going on. Now, you won't be able to hear David Knight in here because I have an earpiece. So let's go back in to the control room so we can hear a few minutes of David Knight's response to what I just said, and then we will hand the baton fully to David Knight. And I'll be back this evening, Infowars.com/ask-me-anything/AMA, or just go to Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com. You can't miss the links. We'll send it out on Twitter. We'll tweet it out, Real Alex Jones. And we're also going to send the links out in the Infowars Insider newsletter, Infowars.com/newsletter. Go there, throw your email in, and we can hit you with the links so you never miss anything, especially special events. So let's now go to David Knight. David Knight, please give me your take on what I just said, and then I am unplugging here, so the last 45 minutes is yours.
Alex, that's exactly right. You know, what we're looking at is, in the wake of this shooting, the left, Obama, Hillary Clinton, have tried to turn this into a gun control issue, but this is truly a border control issue. If you can't control the borders, if you're not willing to vet people who you're letting into this country, then what use is it going to be to even attempt to try to do gun control?
And I'm glad you said that, because they keep saying, Alex, you said this is tied to the refugees. This guy's a citizen, like they were saying this morning. A Frenchman stabbed and killed 2 today. He was from Algeria or Morocco.
And there was no gun involved there.
It's not a Frenchman. It's not exactly, but yeah. This guy's parents were Mujahideen, Al-Qaeda types. He came here. He was radicalized at home. He wasn't un-American. He hated us. It makes my point. They're launching the jihad. So whether it's a guy that was here 20 years or whether it was somebody who got here 6 months ago, like the wife of the San Bernardino shooter, this is a jihad, and they hate the left more than anybody because they're twisted and classically, in a way, somewhat conservative. But it's all schizophrenic, like have sex with men under the booga booga, but if you don't do it that way, then you kill them. So it's all schizophrenic horse crap, okay, and illiberal bull by a bunch of pseudo-intellectual fops. I'm sorry, you just made a point I meant to make. I'm glad you made it, because they keep spinning it and saying, oh, we don't want to control the borders. This guy was already here, and it wasn't Islam, and it's all bull. Sorry, David, go ahead.
Well, you know, Alex, when you look at that French situation, and whether or not these people are first or second generation, there's an article that I'm going to talk about today via Drudge Report, talking about more than half of the deadly attacks in the last decade have been done by second generation. We're going to talk about why that is. There's a good reason for that. And when we talk about what's going on, I saw comments from people, hey, he wasn't an immigrant. And these guys who shot up Paris weren't immigrants either. That's part of the problem, though, is how they bring the people in. But you got Hillary Clinton coming in and saying, gun control is the only way to stop terrorists from getting the tools they need. And it's like, no. You have to worry, if you're going to let terrorists into your country without any kind of vetting, without any kind of control, the least of your worries is going to be them getting some kind of a semi-automatic weapon. What you really need to be worried about is that they're going to come in and use nuclear, biological, or chemical. Those are the real weapons of war. And what we saw in France, we saw a jihadi coming in using the weapons of jihad. What was he using? He was using a knife, and he was using Facebook. Now, do we need to ban knives? And do we need to ban Facebook? Are those the problems? He stabs the French officer, and this is a police commander. And this guy who committed this terrorist act was under observation already. So even though the police have him under observation, and they always say that, they say, yeah, we knew about him. I guess they don't want to pretend that they're ignorant. I guess it's better to say you're incompetent. But you need to know everything. You just don't want to be, I guess that's an excuse for being incompetent. But nevertheless, this guy was a known criminal. They said he was under observation, but he stabs the officer in the stomach, goes into the house, holds his wife hostage, eventually slits her throat in front of the 3-year-old child. The two of them are bleeding out in front of the child, and this guy is filming it and putting it on Facebook and encouraging others to do the same. So let me ask you, is the problem a gun? Guns weren't involved there. Oh, yeah, the other word. I'm sorry. The guns were involved. At one point, the police showed up, and they put an end to it, saving the life of the 3-year-old by shooting this guy with a gun. That's where the guns come in. And you see, it's always when the people with guns get there, the good guys with the guns stop the bad guys with the knives, with the nuclear weapons, with the biological weapons, with the chemical weapons, with their guns, whatever they choose to use. The issue is not gun control. The issue is border control. If you refuse to control the border, you will have these problems. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. We're going to talk about some of the issues that show that it is border control. We're going to talk about what's coming up with gun control as well, because we've now got David Petraeus. He keeps betraying us. The regular at Bilderberg. And of course, you saw Rob Dew chasing him down the streets in Dresden, Germany at Bilderberg as Petraeus was running. It reminded me of, remember George H.W. Bush? Remember he ran, when he ran for president, everybody said, wait a minute, this guy doesn't believe in anything Ronald Reagan campaigned on. He criticized Ronald Reagan's lowering taxes, and he said, George Bush at the time said, no, that's nothing but voodoo economics. And so everybody was skeptical that George Bush would raise taxes because Ronald Reagan lowered them quite a bit. Remember, Bernie Sanders says, hey, taxes were 90% under Reagan. Yeah, before he lowered them. That's what he inherited. And then he lowered them to 2 brackets that were very, very low, somewhere in the 20s. And but, of course, Bernie would take it back there. Hillary would take it back there. And, of course, George H.W. Bush raised them quite a bit. As soon as, when he campaigned, he said, read my lips, no new taxes. Remember that? And then as soon as he got elected, he pushed through what then was the largest tax increase ever. George I did, George H.W. Bush. And when he was asked about it, he kind of did the same thing that David Petraeus did to Rob Dew there in Dresden. He was out jogging, and he just smirked at the reporters, and he said, read my hips. And he kept jogging. So I guess that's what David Petraeus was saying to Rob Dew. Read my hips. I'm not going to talk to you. But what is David Petraeus doing now? David Petraeus is now betraying the veterans. Yes, he is leading a new gun control group that is going to focus on getting guns away from the veterans. And notice how he spins it. He says it's for their safety. CNN reports it says, 70% of the suicides of veterans are done with guns. So we need to take the guns away from veterans. And we got this multi-star, I don't know how many stars they eventually gave this bureaucrat. He is nothing but a bureaucrat. I don't know how many stars they gave David Petraeus before he was eventually busted for selling secrets. But now they trot out this general, and they trot out also McChrystal, who was also there in Afghanistan. Remember, McChrystal has come out and said, hey, there's no way that you need to have military weapons in the United States in the hands of civilians. He said that multiple times. And he comes out, he talks about the velocity of the bullet and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, wow, I'm supposed to be impressed by that. Well, let's talk about the velocity of government control, okay? At the time of the Revolution, when the Second Amendment was written, it was always about military weapons. Throughout history, they have always tried to take the state-of-the-art weapons away from the people in the populace. Okay, they banned crossbows from the people in England. They let them have longbows, but not crossbows. Stay with us. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk about Hillary getting busted by the Russians. Was it her private server at the DNC? We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show, this 4th hour of June 14th, Tuesday. I'm David Knight, and we're going to be talking about a variety of subjects. We've got a special report coming up in the next segment from John Bowne about the Orlando attack. A great special report. We're going to be playing that in the long segment. Also, I'm going to be talking about what's happening with Brexit, because Brexit is really about global governance. Brexit right now is a key issue